Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to teach you some things that are not really related to the tutorial itself, but I really think it's really useful to know, and well, I wish I knew when I started with Unreal Engine. So, I'm going to explain how the master materials work and how to set up a simple master material for your project. So, let's get started. Well, first things first, what is a master material? A master material is an instance that can change as you like, and well, there is really no limit to it. You can set up any kind of material that you like, you can make the mesh have any kind of looks that you like. You can even make it move as you wish with only using the materials. First, I'm going to show you some of the master materials I have and some of the material instance that I got on my character. It's a little bit more complex than the ones I'm going to show you here, since, well, with the basic you can get pretty far, and after that you're able to find on your own any kind of change that you want to have on your material. As you can see on the names of each parameter that I set up, well, the names are pretty much self-explanatory. We got a lot of things to configure here. We got the freeze, opacity, scatter, specular, and even the color of the tip and the root, in this case the hair. And now I'm going to show you only a glimpse of how powerful material instance can be. Just for the sake of this tutorial and to show you that material instance can literally be done with what about everything, I'm going to open up a blank project and configure somewhat a master material for a simple object on the scene. Now let's close my project and play with the blank one. It's very important to save every time you do any kind of major changes in, well, any aspect of the project itself. So, since I do know that I didn't make any kind of substantial change or any change important for that matter, I'm allowed to close it up without saving, but please don't do that. So let's do it. The first thing I'm going to do is to create the material itself. So I'm going to do some changes on the material of some mesh of this scene. You can both duplicate the material or create it on your own. Right click on the content browser and then select the material, the green icon. When you do so, the first thing that you gotta do with the material is to name it properly. Naming is a really important thing in any project, so don't forget to put the right name, don't leave any kind of placeholder naming, okay? Since this object plays with color ID, I'm going to copy the texture and then change some parameters. Simply put, color ID is a texture information made in the shape of color. It says where each part of the mesh is represented by each one of the colors, red, green and blue. But let's leave it at that because that's not really the focus of this video. So, let's start connecting some things. The first thing I'm going to do is to create a 3-vector color, pressing 3 on the keyboard and then selecting the shift port itself, or looking on the search bar itself. Holding S, left click on a empty place, and then it will appear a scalar parameter. Scalar parameter is a float value that can be used by material instances, don't forget that. And also, don't forget to name it properly, as I said before, naming is really important. Now I'm going to add a scalar parameter for the metallic, the specular, and the roughness also. You can choose a specific value for each one of the parameters at the left tab. The default value represents a fixed number for the parameter itself. The slider, as the name says, represents a slider. If you set up a minimum and a maximum value, the developer will only be able to tweak only between these two values on the material instance. You can also choose to group any kind of parameters that you have by selecting the group and then naming as you please. I will not deep dive in each one of the options that you have here because there is a lot of options. I highly recommend you that after you are pretty familiar with the system itself, start looking for things that will make your life easier or to fulfill your needs. I'm going to save everything now and then apply the material to the table that we are going to edit. That way I will be 100% sure in what's going on and how is going the editing on the table itself. Click and drag and wait for the materials to load up on the scene. Now it's time to add another tree vector and then adding a lerp between them using the red channel of the texture as the alpha. I'm telling the engine that the result of the lerp between these two colors will only be applied to the red parts of the texture. And that's the power of the color ID. Using a primary color, I'm going to tell the engine itself which parts I want to apply a specific material to. And well, that's really amazing, and you can create outstanding materials for your characters, your scenarios, and even post-processing just using this technique. Such as the scalar parameter, I'm going to make the color be editable when I make the material instance itself. So to do that, right click on the tree vector node and then click on Convert to Parameter. Don't forget to name it properly, and then after that you're pretty much done. Now I'm going to apply the RGB at a multiply value over the metallic scalar just so I can play with it a little bit more. You can always choose to multiply, add or subtract things, and I think it's pretty much safe to say that even the most expensive and the most outstanding materials out there is just a bunch of results of doing these very same calculations over and over again. So now I'm going to play a little bit more with the roughness value, and well, I think I will add a sort of dirt layer over the table itself. To do so, just duplicate the texture sample and then select a random noise texture such as the purling noise M. Now I'm going to multiply it by the roughness scalar parameter, and well, after that we are pretty much set up to start working with the material instance itself, playing with the tweaks, changing its color, make it look nice. In the same way that I've used the tree vector as a parameter, I'm going to convert the texture sample as a parameter itself. To do so, just right click and then click on Convert to Parameter. Just to have a better view, let's change the color of one of the three vectors. Well, after waiting it to load up, the best thing to do now I think it's to just apply it to the table and see the result itself in the final mesh. So let's save it and change it to the viewport. As you can see, some changes are already emerging from the table itself, but I guess this is not enough yet. I'm going to create the material instance and then apply it to the table. In order to change it from the single material to a material instance, right click it and then select Create Material Instance. Click on the checkbox at the right corner and you will be able to edit any kind of parameter that you set up in the material itself. You can also choose the mesh that this material is being applied to. In order to do so, click on the preview and select your mesh. And now it's time to start playing with the material values. Change it in any way that you like and see fit, because this will only be applied to the material, and well, the preview mesh is only a preview, as the name says. If you want to actually apply these changes to a specific object, you gotta drag the material inside of it. So don't forget to save if you do have any changes on the materials of your skeletal mesh or the static mesh, okay? As you can see here, any kind of change on the metallic, roughness, or even the color of any kind of material that we are going to apply inside the mesh is going to change in real time. So, when you are done with the changes, and if you do want to add any kind of further customization, go back to the material master and well, edit it, add some parameters and add some color schemes, do as you please. In this case, just to show you that further customization is possible, I'm going to add a color scheme to the top of the table. To do so, I'm going to just duplicate the lerp on the color scheme that we just set up and then apply it to another part of the color ID on the texture map. After duplicating it, I'm going just to add one inside another, because well, they don't use the same information and therefore they won't have any kind of overlapping problems. Now I'm going to apply the green channel to the alpha that we just created, and well, I'm going to save and play a little bit more with the material instance. As you can see, any kind of changes that we just made in the master material will be applied instantaneously on the instance as well. And once again, since this table has the same material that we just edited, any changes that we did will be applied to the scene as well. Don't forget to save every now and then so you don't lose any kind of edit that you just make, okay? This is very important to have the naming and to keep saving every time that you do some kind of major changes inside your project. And now, since you already know how to set up a master material and how you can play with an instant material, I'm going to just have a quick checkup on how the materials were set up inside my character, so you can do the same as well. I will share some screenshots and share some facts about the materials that I created. Now, let's say that you just finished your texturing inside Substance Painter or any other software and have some textures that you want to make a master material with. This kind of setup is really simple, but it's effective nonetheless. It's a point of start to configure your own texture inside Unreal, so feel free to copy it and try to make some innovations on your own, maybe add some lerps or any kind of color variation. You can use this setup in pretty much everything except for the hair or maybe some things like the eyes and the skin itself. For the skin, I do recommend you to check this article out. The link is located at the top corner. It's named The Secret of Human Shaders Inside UE4. I can guarantee you that using this tutorial you will reach a really nice smooth shade of skin. And even if you don't use it, it's really worth the time. So check it out, okay? And now for the last kind of shader that I'm using my character, that is their hair. I'm not really allowed to just show you how the hair is set up because it's not a product made by me. You can choose to find it inside Marketplace. It's named Stylized Hair Shader and I really think it's a good product and might apply to your needs just as well. it's worth to check it out, okay? If you have some money to spare, please try it out, see what happens, and if you like it, support the one that creates the shader. And I think that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, for buying this course, and I hope you to see in the near future. If you have any kind of doubt, please try to contact me in any social media. I am more than willing to help you out in whatever you need, okay? So, see you soon.